The Sisters' Silent Dreams. In the rugged heartland of 19th-century Montana, nestled in a quiet valley, stood the weathered cottage of the Bennett sisters. Mary, Clara, and Elsie Bennett were the daughters of a humble cobbler and a seamstress, both of whom had passed away, leaving behind their modest home, a meager vegetable garden, and the weight of survival. With no suitors in their remote, struggling town and few opportunities for work, the sisters had only each other and their dreams. Each of the sisters carried a quiet hope inside her heart, one nurtured by dime store novels and whispered bedtime tales of grand estates and noble gentlemen. Despite their poverty, they were rich in spirit, beauty, and grace. Mary, the eldest of 25, was stoic and strong-willed, her hands calloused from endless hours of mending shoes and stitching clothes. Clara, 23, was gentle and artistic, her world painted with colors only she could see, and her heart full of longing. Elsie, the youngest at 20, was lively, full of wit and charm that could disarm even the hardest heart. When word reached them of an opportunity to become mail-order brides, the sisters clung to it like a lifeline. A local trader had shown them an advertisement from a distant city newspaper. 3 brothers of noble birth, dukes in England, seeking brides willing to travel across the sea and start anew. It sounded too good to be true, but desperation and hope often walk hand in hand. They spent weeks penning their letters, pouring their souls onto the paper, each one honest about their circumstances, but earnest in their desire to build a future filled with love, loyalty, and shared dreams. Mary emphasized her dedication and strength. Clara wrote of her creativity and kind heart, and Elsie let her spirited humor shine. They sealed their letters with trembling hands and sent them off, praying for a miracle. Weeks turned into months. Their hopes began to wither like the last leaves of autumn. Then, one cold morning, a letter arrived, short, cold, and impersonal. It was a rejection. The Duke's steward had responded, stating plainly that the sisters were deemed unsuitable, their poverty making them unfit for noble companionship. The words cut deep. Not just rejection, but judgment. Mary folded the letter with steady hands and buried her tears. Clara cried softly, painting over her sorrow with strokes of imagined beauty. Elsie, ever defiant, tried to laugh it off, but her smile faltered. They returned to their daily grind, hearts heavier, dreams dimmed. But fate is rarely finished with those who endure. Unbeknownst to the sisters, the Dukes, Edward, Julian, and Thomas, had never seen the letters. Their overbearing aunt, Lady Agatha, had intercepted them, dismissing the Bennett sisters as unworthy before the brothers could lay eyes on the heartfelt words. She had her own plans, rich heiresses from noble families, strategic alliances, power, and wealth. But fate found its way. During a visit to their aunt's estate, Edward, the eldest duke, stumbled upon the discarded letters in the bottom drawer of a writing desk. Curious, he read them and was captivated. Julian and Thomas read them next, each brother drawn to one of the sisters as if destiny itself had guided their hearts. The brothers were appalled by their aunt's interference. Noble blood did not equate to noble hearts. And so, with quiet defiance and hopeful hearts, the 3 dukes decided to set sail for America, not with titles or retinues, but as men searching for something real. As spring bloomed in Montana, the Bennett sisters had no idea that the men who would change their lives forever were already crossing oceans to find them. When hearts found their home, the small town of Red Willow had never seen such strangers. The 3 well-dressed men who stepped off the creaky stagecoach were clearly not locals. Tall, composed, with an air of quiet command, they turned heads as they passed. They gave their names simply, Edward, Julian, and Thomas, omitting their titles, eager to be judged not by birth but by character. Their first stop was the local inn. From there, they inquired subtly about the Bennett sisters, claiming to be distant acquaintances. Word traveled fast in a small town. Soon, the sisters heard of 3 mysterious visitors asking about them. Mary was cautious. "We don't need more disappointment," she warned, but curiosity gnawed at them. The meeting came by accident, or perhaps fate. Clara had gone to the market to trade some of her painted scarves when she bumped into Julian. Literally, her basket fell, apples scattering across the muddy road. Julian stooped to help, their hands brushing. He smiled. She blushed. They introduced themselves, and Julian's eyes lit up when he realized he was speaking to the very woman whose words had haunted him. "I think," he said softly, "I've been searching for you." Mary met Edward next. He approached her at the small chapel, where she was mending a worn tapestry. She mistook him for a traveler in need and offered him bread. He took it with a grateful nod. "You're kind," he said, "even when you don't know who I am." "I judge no one by title," Mary replied, "only by their actions." Elsie met Thomas last, under the strangest of circumstances. She was chasing a runaway goat, shouting at it in frustration, when Thomas appeared, laughing, and helped her corner the creature. Her sass met his charm, and sparks flew. Over the following weeks, the brothers spent time with the sisters, not as dukes, but as men learning to love. They helped in the garden, shared stories by firelight, and walked along riverbanks at dusk. Slowly, love bloomed. When the truth finally emerged, who the brothers truly were, the town was stunned. The sisters were speechless. "You're dukes," Mary whispered, unable to meet Edward's eyes. "Yes," he said, kneeling, "but I came as a man, and I asked for your heart, not your awe." Julian held Clara's hands. "I fell in love with your soul, not your circumstances." Thomas winked at Elsie. "You're too rich in laughter to ever be called poor." The sisters stood at a crossroad of choice, not because of fear, but because of wonder. The world had judged them by their lack. These men saw their wealth in love, courage, and kindness. They said yes. The town of Red Willow rejoiced. Bells rang. The chapel was adorned with wildflowers. 3 weddings, 3 unions not of convenience, but of destiny. The sisters left for England weeks later, not as beggars or burdens, but as beloved brides, carrying with them not only trunks of stitched dresses and hand-painted scarves, but the unshakable knowledge that love, when true, needs no riches. And so it was, in a world quick to reject the poor, that 3 noble hearts found home in the hands of 3 humble women.